Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips podcast with your geeky host, Lindsay Wheeler, where we talk about everything from death, preparing for your future through estate planning, life, the occasional breakup, entrepreneurship, general nerdery, and of course travel, snowboard, and always wine. Welcome to Legacy Sips and Tips with your host, Lindsay, and today we're going to talk about what happens if you can't make decisions for yourself because you are now incapacitated, or just a little wackadoo, which I already am. So I need somebody to make decisions for me. Can you help me? Incapacity planning is very important for things like medical decisions, financial decisions, naming who's going to take care of these things for you and how do you want those things taken care of for you. Dementia or Alzheimer's is a very prevalent one that we have these days, that your brain just basically starts to have cognitive decline. It affects your memory, your judgment, and your decision making. And this is why this is really important to have these things set up, because if you do not have the capacity or the judgment or the ability to make decisions, you're unable to then create these documents or put these things in place to take care of you. So very important that way. You have a stroke, you're in a car accident, you have a traumatic brain injury, exact same thing. You're unable to make those decisions or advocate for yourself or able to let people know what you want at that point. And if you don't have anything in place and these things start happening to you or have happened to you, you don't have that ability, and that decision making is out of your hands now and becomes the hands of the state to make those decisions for you. Also, severe illness or crisis. Maybe you have a depressive episode that was very severe. Maybe you have some mental instability, if you will, and sometimes those things get exacerbated and you lose that capacity for a moment. Again, having that instruction set up is very important so somebody can actually advocate according to your wishes when you are having that ability to let them know. So why this is very important is because nobody wants to go through the guardianship process through the courts. It sucks. It's almost like going through probate. That's how much it sucks. So for instance, we had a client recently whose wife has become infirm, if you will. She has late stage dementia. She does not know who anybody is. She doesn't know how to even tie her shoes, frankly, anymore. So he is unable to, with her, to create an estate plan and make sure that when they pass away, these things get taken care of because she no longer has capacity and everything is in joint ownership, if you will. So what has to happen is this man who's been married to his woman, his wife, for 46 years, has to go get guardianship of his own wife through the court. It's pretty traumatic, frankly. She has to be served. She has to have an attorney appointed through the courts for her. He now has to go in front of a judge and says, I'm the right person for her to be taking care of her, even though he's been doing it for 46 years, that they're going to kind of scrutinize him. What do his finances look like? What is his mental and health, physical ability to take care of her? Obviously, he's an older gentleman himself, so they take that into play. Luckily, he is fairly, together. Mentally, he's great. Physically, he's on a little bit of a decline because he's an older gentleman. He's in his mid 80s. So think about that. This gentleman who is now in his mid 80s is having to get guardianship of his wife. That's crazy. And it's very difficult. And it was an easy process as well as it could be that we got him through that. But it was still very emotional for him. Took a toll. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of resources for him to be able to continue to take care of his wife in that capacity, with now court oversight and a judge taking a look at his stuff from that. So that can be very difficult, time-consuming, and emotionally tolling on people as well, going through that process. Oftentimes, too, courts don't like to give guardianship because it does give a lot of power over somebody or an individual, and they like to do or look at other avenues to be able to take care of that person. Again, the court will automatically ask, do you have an estate plan in place? Do you have powers of attorney in place that could be less overbearing, that we don't have to as a court now provide these court documents or court orders if you have these things in place. So very important to have those things in place so then you as the guardian or you yourself have these things in place, maintaining control over your care. With a guardianship, you aren't able to really advocate for yourself. And yeah, like my client with a gentleman who is, older, he's been with his wife 46 years. We hope he knows what she wants, but not necessarily. He may do what's best for him. Not that he would, or might do what's easiest. A lot of people get in these situations and it's very overwhelming and very difficult for them. And so they're going to go the easy route because that's just human nature. So maintaining control over your care. Once you got to that point, you're past that point. So having that in place so you can dictate exactly what you want to have done and your wishes per se. It protects your loved ones as well. So without the clear instructions, your family might struggle about what you actually want to have done. Do you want to have these things happening? Do you want them to be taking care of you in these certain ways? Did you want to be placed in this facility or not? So that's important, and it can alleviate that stress on your loved ones for making those decisions, and it alleviates the conflict that might happen. Maybe you have siblings or other relatives that are not on board with the same plan that maybe you want for this person, or vice versa. Then they might argue and may have to go to court over that. If you have your plan in place for them, they can't argue about that because you've told them what you want to have done. So very important. So key documents to avoid this guardianship and this incapacity is, of course, 1, having that estate plan in place. 2, with that, having those powers of attorney documents, financial and medical, so people can make those financial decisions for you and your medical wishes as well in whatever circumstance that you may find yourself in. So having those drawn up ahead of time while you have capacity is super important, because after you lose capacity, it's too late. You can't do it then. It's not going to happen. We can't put the baby back in with the bathwater. I don't really know what that analogy is, but something like that. Having that HIPAA release, that authorization in place so your loved ones get your medical records if they needed to. Very important as well for that. That healthcare directive called our living will, which, as we know, is now an end-of-life decision. It's a health directive of what do you want to have done if you were in a certain circumstance where your passing may be either prolonged or expedited from that. So choosing an agent who is going to understand your wishes, who's going to advocate for you and do the best thing for you is really important at that point there. So those are kind of the integral documents you can have. And then, of course, that revocable living trust that will have what happens to you if you become incapacitated or no longer with us, and what that management of your estate looks like. So very important with that. Again, what happens if you don't is that you're going to have that family conflict. You're going to have that court oversight. You're going to have to go in front of a judge. You might have delayed or inappropriate care because people are guessing at that point, or may just be trying to do what they can do at that time as opposed to you telling them what to do. So your financial matters might also suffer too, because somebody might have the authority to take care of those things and then have to go through that guardianship process and take care of those financial or medical issues for you. And that might be delayed before they can get in front of a court and get that guardianship authority. So very important. Talk with your loved ones, of course, making sure that they are aware of that, getting your estate plan in place, working with us, getting that together for you, or a practitioner who does so. And then, of course, reviewing your plans every 3 to 5 years. Take a look at that. Are those the same wishes that you want? People's lives change, ideas about things change. And so is that still what you want to have done for you in those circumstances, in that situation? So choose those agents wisely who are going to advocate for you and make sure that your wishes are fulfilled and carried out. Communicate clearly your wishes of what you do want to have happen. And then, of course, store those documents so somebody can get a hold of them. Like we have that legacy vault. And that's always a great place to put them. They're all online in the cloud, and somebody can just get the authorization through you or through the email login and have all those documents at their fingertips. They're in a medical emergency or whatever it is, they can have them right away to verify your wishes and to fulfill your wishes. So today's wine, we're going to talk about Alicante Boucher. It is a 2018 from Lavender Ridge. So this is in the Murphy's area in California, which is the Sierra foothills, but on the other side. And this is one of the rarer grape varietals that actually the pulp inside is also red, as opposed to most varieties of wine that you get. The red comes from the skins and the juice inside is actually white. So that's why you can have a white zin. But this one is red through and through. So they used to use this back in the day to help ship wines east during Prohibition. And it was used in the bottoms because the skins were very thick, and it also would basically prolong the redness of the wines in a really weird way for the Prohibition era. So very interesting. This got, basically grown for mafias back east in Chicago, what have you. So it's a unique wine. I like it. So yes, check that out if you're in the area, or find one of these and tell me what you like about it. So again, as I hammer on you guys, very importantly, is to get your estate plan done ahead of time. Do it before there's an accident. Do it before there's an incident. Do it before you're infirm. Do it before you become mentally unable to make these decisions. Estate planning is very, very happy. It is happy. Estate planning is very, very important to get done when you are able to make these decisions and able to do so. So I always say the default is, could you go down to the car dealership and would they sell you a car? If the answer is no, because you don't have capacity, then you can't do an estate plan because you're not able to contract those things out, if you will. So making sure that those decisions are made and able to be implemented while you're alive and have those wherewithal, if you will, to get that done. So if you have questions on getting estate planning done before you become infirm, or you just want to talk about mental illness, I'm here for you. And of course, when you think of death, think of me. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you found value, please like, subscribe, and share. And be sure to follow me on all the socials at Sips and Tips with Lindsay. And of course, you can always go to my website, sipsandtipswithlindsay.com, to find more information about estate planning, business, snowboard, travel, and of course, wine. As always, we have to get the legal stuff out of the way. I went to law school, so you don't have to. However, we have to read the special disclaimer that I am not a practicing attorney. I am not your attorney. I am not offering any legal advice in any content or any episode. All content is for your information and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for seeking your own legal advice from your own attorney or other professionals such as a CPA or financial advisor. I cannot give legal advice and do not offer any legal services or legal advice, but I do offer some fun and educational content for you to enjoy.